Welcome to Fantasy Baseball Picks and Bets presented by Prize Picks. I'm JT Hayes, Run Pure Sports at JT Hayes Jr. on Twitter.com. And this is the very last Sunday night, Monday morning Prize Picks video for the Major League Baseball season. If you haven't already joined and started winning using the information that we provide you here at the Mayo Media Network, go ahead and visit prizepicks.com. Enter code MMNMLB. That's MMN like Mayo Media Network, MLB, and get your $100 deposit match before the code expires pretty soon. I'm sure there'll be a new code for the National Football League season, which gets underway here in just a couple of weeks. Of course, Prize Picks uses DraftKings fantasy scoring. Our job, pick the over or under of the points that we think that player is going to get that night. We help you out with baseball up until August 31st, every single day of the week. And we'll be helping you as well with content for the NFL season as it gets underway. And of course, PGA as always, and the NBA later on this year. Once again, MMNMLB. Get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com. The Monday night slate on DraftKings beginning at 7:05 p.m. has 9 games, a number of interesting selections up at prizepicks.com. Like this video and subscribe to the Mayo Media Network and be able to continue taking advantage of this information. There's a lot of pitching choices on the slate for Monday night. Offense looks like it's going to be in short supply, which has been rare over the course of the last month of the Major League Baseball season. But a couple of picks I like. Chris Ellis and the Baltimore Orioles. Of course, the Orioles in a major rebuilding phase. Chris Ellis they acquired from Tampa Bay. Again, I always say this about guys that Tampa Bay releases or trades. Do you really want to take a player that one of the smartest organizations gives up on? Well, the Baltimore Orioles did just that with Chris Ellis. They go into Toronto. It's not a park that I love because they do have a humidor and runs have been a little bit lower in Skydome, certainly a lot lower than anywhere else that the Toronto Blue Jays have played this season. But in a matchup with Chris Ellis and the Baltimore Orioles bullpen, which gave up another ton of runs on Sunday afternoon to the Tampa Bay Rays, I do like the overs here for some of the Toronto Blue Jays. Bo Bichette over 9 fantasy points and Vlad Guerrero Jr. over 9.5 fantasy points. Conversely, the Boston Red Sox head out after a tough loss on Sunday afternoon and go down into Tampa Bay. Big park downgrades for both the Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays, and a very intriguing pitching matchup with Nick Pivetta against Luis Patino. Both guys have been very good this season for the most part, and Pivetta has done some of his best work against this Tampa Bay Rays team. And after they exploded on Sunday afternoon, I expect them to be a little bit quieter on Monday night in this matchup. So going to take the under here on a couple of guys in this matchup. Under 8 fantasy points for Nelson Cruz with the Tampa Bay Rays, and under 7 fantasy points for Xander Bogaerts with the Boston Red Sox. We'll go with Toronto overs, Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr., and then unders in the Tampa Bay and Boston game, Nelson Cruz and Xander Bogaerts. Again, if you haven't joined, prizepicks.com, enter code MMNMLB, get your $100 deposit match just in time for football season, and subscribe to the Mayo Media Network so you can continue taking advantage of the information in these videos. While these videos are going to end for Prize Picks on the Mayo Media Network as of this week, we still have a month left in the Major League Baseball season and some interesting storylines, obviously pennant races going on, and some injury news this week. Shohei Ohtani got hit with a fastball in his pitching hand. He did stay in the game. X-rays were negative, and since they had a kind of a strange off day on Sunday, we'll have to see if he's in the lineup on Monday night when they host the red-hot New York Yankees. A couple of other injury news tidbits. Rhys Hoskins going to miss the rest of the season with surgery for an abdominal injury. That obviously puts a big dent in the playoff hopes of the Philadelphia Phillies. Justin Verlander Houston Astros. He will not pitch this year after undergoing off-season surgery. So a couple of guys that we maybe expected back to give their teams a hand towards the end of the season are not going to be available. As far as the pennant races, the Braves taking 2 of 3 over the weekend from the National League West leading San Francisco Giants. Big series for the Atlanta Braves to maintain their lead in the National League East, especially after dropping their 2-game series to the red-hot New York Yankees. The Yankees, meanwhile, finally, for the first time in a couple of weeks, lost a game on Saturday, dropping one to the Oakland A's 3-2. But some good news for the Yankees, a guy who was really, really good for them in the early part of the season, including throwing one of those voluminous no-hitters in the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, Corey Kluber. He'll be headed back to the bump on Monday night in Anaheim when they take on the Los Angeles Angels. On Sunday, the New York Mets won a baseball game. They beat the Washington Nationals, and after getting swept by the San Francisco Giants and losing 7 of their last 10 games, some bright news. They did take 2 of 3 from the Nationals over the weekend series. However, on Sunday, the Mets, instead of celebrating the win with their fans, instead of enjoying the fact that they're climbing back into the National League East race, perhaps just 7.5 games back there, staying alive in the wild card race, just 7 games back there. Nope. They decided instead to boo their fans, to give their fans the thumbs down as they ran around the bases after hitting home runs and scoring runs. And it's just something that I don't even know what to say at this point with the New York Mets franchise. The franchise themselves put out a statement immediately after the game and said, as we expect, it's perfectly okay for fans to come and express their disappointment when the team is playing poorly, and it is absolutely unacceptable for players to mock fans for expressing their feelings. It's one thing to boo. Booing shows you care. It shows you're invested. You want the team to do well. Mets fans, when they decide to show the thumbs down, that's going to be when they stop purchasing those tickets and stop tuning into the game. So hopefully this franchise can at some point soon finally get themselves on the right foot. On to the Monday night daily fantasy sports slate. 9 games, and as I mentioned, a lot of top-tier pitchers on the mound on Monday night. And, of course, we've got Corey Kluber coming back. But going to give you a couple of guys that, as I took a first look at the slate here right before I recorded, stand out as having good prices and pretty good matchups in terms of where they're at and where the opposing team is at. Talked about the Baltimore Orioles going into Toronto. It is the Sky Dome. They do have a humidor. It has suppressed runs there over the course of the first few weeks since the Jays have been home. And Robbie Ray goes back out to the mound to take on the Baltimore Orioles. Robbie Ray, on the course of the season, a 32% strikeout rate. Again, big park downgrade coming from their home park in Baltimore to Toronto. And look, I mean, the Baltimore team has a ton of talent for the future. Guys like Cedric Mullins and Ryan Mountcastle. But right now, I think the path that Robbie Ray is on, and he's got to be, even with just a record of 9-5, got to be somewhere in contention for the Cy Young Award in the American League, as well as he's pitched. And at just 9.7 on DraftKings, I think he's going to be pretty popular, and he's certainly going to make his way into a ton of my lineups, as well as he has pitched, shutting down the Chicago White Sox just a week ago. So Robbie Ray at 9.7. Another matchup that I like here, a guy who's been successful in this matchup. He's pitched pretty well this season, and he gets a pretty significant price downgrade for the matchup, and that's Nick Pivetta at 6.8K on DraftKings, a 26% strikeout rate over the course of the season. He goes into Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay put up a ton of runs, of course, on Sunday afternoon against Spencer Watkins and the Baltimore Orioles bullpen, but Nick Pivetta, a significant upgrade in competition from what they saw on Sunday afternoon, and the park itself in Tampa Bay suppresses runs. So I like this pairing quite a bit. I may switch this up in some lineups, but I think for right now, Robbie Ray and Nick Pivetta, pretty good pairing for me, pitching-wise. Of course, a lot of this stuff could change. Lineups are going to come out. We're going to see different interpretations. Umpires are going to be announced. Run lines and props, player props are going to come out. And that's why, if you're not already a member at runpuresports.com, you should join the movement. Enter code RPSNFL15. Once again, RPSNFL15. That gives you 15% off. Not your first payment, not your first month, not your first year, not just NFL season. It gives you 15% off of the lifetime subscription at Run Pure Sports. We've got playbooks for every single slate. We'll have core plays, slate strategies. And for NFL, we're going to be covering every single slate. Showdown, short slates, midweek slates, everything at runpuresports.com. On to the offense. Again, a lot of pitching on this 9-game slate. Not a ton of very obvious offensive spots. I talked about the fact that there's a humidor in the Sky Dome, and the Blue Jays have scored a bit less than we would expect out of such a powerful offense since they returned home to Toronto. But they get a matchup with Chris Ellis and the Baltimore Orioles bullpen. And maybe it's not a 15-run performance, but I certainly expect them to be one of the highest scoring teams on Monday night. Couple of guys in this lineup I like. Marcus Semien, 5.3K. Bo Bichette can steal a few bases as well, 5.3K. And then Vlad Guerrero Jr. starting to come out of a little bit of a mini slump that he's been in here. I think that a great recipe to pull him all the way out is a matchup with Chris Ellis and a series with the Baltimore Orioles at 6.2. Vlad is on DraftKings. Another spot I like, big series, great series and a great 2-week run for the Atlanta Braves. They took 2 out of 3 from the San Francisco Giants, and now they have to go cross-country into Los Angeles. The Dodgers, of course, staying home after their weekend series, disappointing weekend series with the Colorado Rockies, and they're going to get a matchup with Drew Smyly, who's been just fine, but Smyly giving up 1.86 home runs per 9 innings. I think this is a matchup where the Dodgers will take advantage here. Guys I like in this lineup, Trey Turner, 5.4. Obviously, once Trey gets on base, if it's not an extra base hit or a home run, he's going to be looking to steal, and you can certainly do that against Drew Smyly. Chris Taylor, another guy that I like. Of course, you can't predict the Dodgers lineup all the way up until the lineup is announced, because you never know what it's going to be. They have so many different platoon options there, including Albert Pujols, who, if he does find himself into the lineup on Monday night, is going to be pretty cheap, just 2.4K, and a very good matchup for him. But Chris Taylor, 4.1, and then Drew Smyly with a 190 isolated power allowed to left-handed batters. I like Corey Seager here in this matchup as well at just 4.9 on DraftKings. We'll close it out as we always do with a bet that I like, and right now there's only one that I like. A lot of the lines that I'm seeing at the DraftKings Sportsbook look pretty efficient for this Monday night slate. Again, a lot of things are going to change, and that's why, if you're not a member, runpuresports.com or runpurebets.com if you like the betting side more than the daily fantasy side. Even at runpurebets.com, enter code RPSNFL15 and you'll get 15% off of your lifetime subscription. One that's up right now at the DraftKings Sportsbook that I think is a pretty good wager, has pretty good efficiency, is in that Boston-Tampa Bay game that I talked about. Again, a pretty good pitching matchup between Nick Pivetta and Luis Patino. The under at 8.5 runs is plus 100 there, and that is a number that I am going to take, that I suggest you take. I think that's a pretty good bet in a game that I think we see a fewer runs than we would ordinarily expect in one of these matchups, certainly in Boston, but even in Tampa Bay with a pretty good pitching matchup. That's it. That does it. Once again, things are going to change. Visit us at runpuresports.com. Like this video, subscribe to the Mayo Media Network, and we will see you again very soon as the NFL makes its way towards us. Good luck.